Firstly, we were overwhelmed. I remember we have been waiting for this day. But we were more excited about announcement to release President Mandela. We were not sure. We were all looking up to him because we knew in him our freedom rests on his shoulders. And that was the beginning and the end of apartheid. We were excited. We waited for comrades to come back from town. There was jubilation. There was jovial mood. I can't explain what happened the days after. In anticipation now on the 11th of February when President Mandela was finally released. But it was a day we then realized that indeed the struggles of our people, it's them who unbanned the ANC. President de Klerk, he was only made to simply to make an announcement. But it was the people themselves who unbanned the ANC. Since then, I mean, South Africa has never been the same. We really looked up to this day, and there was nothing much that we could think that he would actually make an announcement that was not expected. Our people, the struggles of international isolation of South Africa was getting more stronger, but most importantly, I think the intensification of mass internal resistance all over the country, it could not be avoided. He had to come to a decision that he had to come on that day. So it does not make him a messiah, President de Klerk. It's conditions that had forced him to unban the African National Congress because the apartheid state had come to a lapse. It had come almost to an abrupt end. South Africa was becoming more isolated. There was no state called South Africa under apartheid. Clearly the winds of change were blowing from all directions. As a young activist, we're quite excited that in our time we were able to be part of history making epoch, where we saw our own organization, we saw the flag of the ANC flying all over, something that was never done before. So since then, I mean, that makes a reaction for us. It gave us strength that indeed struggles. It was now struggling for the African National Congress. We're preparing for the ANC to be the government of the day.
It was the masses of our people who had waged a struggle, which some paid the high price, some having to leave for exile, others went underground and others in prison. And indeed, at the time, since 1985, the youth of our country had said we're making the country ungovernable and apartheid unworkable. So that program that had started in 1985 was the heat moment that culminated in de Klerk realizing that the country indeed is ungovernable. And at the time we had created what we called the liberated zones. And Alexander was one of those, Eastern Cape, there were quite a number of them. Why I got arrested for treason was because we had made Alexander an ungovernable, apartheid unworkable, and in it we created organs of people's power. And those organs were now beginning to arrive their lives and administering the townships. So de Klerk realized therefore that the moment has arrived and the heat is there, and obviously through that he had to do something magical. And indeed the announcement went greater, but it was not because of a willingness on his side. It was because of the people's struggles. Definitely South Africa is a better place to live in politically because people are now enjoying freedoms, and all the laws that apartheid used against Africans in particular and blacks in general are all gone. People can now go to the schooling of their like to send their children. They can stay in any area where they would love to go. And then the job reservations also is gone, so people can trade their skills wherever they want to do. So therefore, we are also the envy of the continent because South Africa is emerging as one of the prosperous nations in the continent, and therefore, indeed, South Africans do live a better life, black and white. However, there are still challenges, definitely, of unemployment, poverty, and inequality. And then we still have to go through the economic emancipation or economic freedom, as they call it, ensure that we are able to better the lives of our people by engaging on that particular program through the government and the state transforming society to allow for Africans and blacks in generally to be the captains of the industry, to be able then to also create more jobs for our people so that we could then deal with those particular challenges in a free and a democratic South Africa, which we all enjoy.
I think we owe it to so many people generations of them, who from the 1600s fought against settler domination, against the theft of their lands, etc. And that continuous struggle that went on over so many decades, I think we owe it to all of them. And I think that's why it's so important that we remember it didn't take one generation to achieve freedom. It took many. It was a long, long, hard road. So yeah, we owe individuals, but we also owe the collective over time, that continuous line of leadership that we were fortunate enough to have in the ANC. And in a sense, it was a very poetic and beautiful thing that on that day, you knew that this would be the last generation at war, that things were changing now.